So maybe some of you can relate to this one. You've been at this whole music thing for a while now, but you have very little to show for all that time spent working on music. You're probably known as the musical one in the family or to your friends, but you're afraid of sharing or showing them any music that you've made because you don't really have any. I only say this because this was me for many years. I've always been surrounded by music for most of my life. I was either playing in bands, DJing, teaching, or just having fun making jam videos in my studio. And believe me, I was wearing all the gear that I owned in my studio like a badge of honor. But you know what? I reached a point where I realized I'd been in music for like 20 years or something and didn't have a single piece of music to my name that I was proud of and wanted to share with people. If this sounds like you, then listen up. I think a lot of people, when they get into making music, lack a key practice that is going to shape them into the music maker that they really want to be. When we first sit down to make music, we have an incredible amount of work ahead of us. And at this early stage, it can be somewhat overwhelming to accept the challenge that lies ahead. We sit down in the studio and start a new track, and we get our toes a little bit wet and probably call it quits after a couple of hours. Then maybe we revisit the track a couple of days later, tweak a few things, change a few things, substitute some of the elements, but ultimately make very little progress. And at this point, when the romantic phase of starting a new track starts to fade, one of a few things happen. We'll either end up discarding the track or starting a new track, or even worse, when it affects our will to want to sit down to make music in the first place. Have you ever wondered how some of your favorite artists manage to just release so much music? Like they have this special superpower that allows them to churn out banger after banger. Do you think that they have some sort of God-given talent that you don't? Well, yeah, they do, and it's called consistency. We all want the quick fixes and the instant gratification and the sporadic big wins. Maximum reward for zero effort. The easy consumption of knowledge and the acquiring of stuff to solve this challenge that we're facing. But you know what? It doesn't have to be that hard. There's no doubt that we know how to work hard, but when we sit down to write music, we have this mountain of work ahead of us, but it's staying focused which is the challenge. This is why we very rarely see our tracks all the way through to the end. Rather than looking at this mountain wondering how on earth are we going to reach the top, we need to break down these tasks into bite-sized chunks. Manageable amounts of time that you are able to sustain one foot in front of the other in a clear direction. And the clear direction is super important because you will never reach your destination if you keep changing the path. The mountain of work ahead of us has to start somewhere, but we need to be able to manage it in a sustainable way. Trust me, I've done the 10-hour sessions in the studio until the sun comes up, and by this stage, your ears and your mind is so fried that not a single decision you make in this state can be trusted. Shooting for these sporadic big wins in the hope that we can shortcut our success is about as amateur as you can get. It's sessions like this that are going to put you off making music altogether because you'll be training your brain to believe that you need a 10-hour window in order to make any progress. The anticipation for a session like this is bound to scare the shit out of anyone. How often do you have a spare 10 hours? Small efforts repeated make the biggest changes over a long period of time. Stop waiting for moments when you have all this free time and start adapting music into your life on a regular basis. Work on that mountain a little bit, but do it over and over again. And all that effort over time will add up. Working on music for 20 minutes isn't very impressive, but working on music for 20 minutes every day for 6 months, that's fucking impressive. And before you know it, you're productive AF and you start to realize how they do it. It's not fucking rocket science. It's this willingness to persevere and push through the suck, staying consistent, staying focused, and managing time and expectations that's going to get you that body of work. You will see results and you'll want to share them with the world because you know just how fucking hard it was to get here. So I do hope you enjoyed today's video and are able to adopt some of these methods into your life. I focus on regularly showing up for manageable amounts of time rather than sporadically showing up for enormous amounts of time. I'd like to thank everyone who's bought me a coffee to help support this channel. I really appreciate it. As you might be aware, I don't monetize these videos and I also don't do paid promotions. But if you do love what I do and you'd like to support, then perhaps you'd consider buying me a coffee. There's a link in the description. But I'm going to sign off for now. If you did like this video, then please remember to subscribe. It really does help. And be sure to give this video a thumbs up also. Until next time, keep creating. Bye for now.